All right, dear all, it's already our last session and panel. I am glad on this occasion to welcome on stage Mr. Nicola Sasanelli from Agora High Tech.
Thank you, Margot.
You will be moderating the panel. I will let you present it.
Yes, thank you very much. And very kind indeed, CYSAT, to invite us here. We come from South Australia, so from the other part of the globe. And with my friend that is somewhere here, Daniel, we organize something like the CYSAT event, but in small scale in South Australia in every June. So this is why there is an interest, and then very kind for you to invite us here and to present something, not only in the panel, but in particular to be involved in the vibrant ecosystem here in Europe that is a private company, university. So great, thank you very much. So let me provide some dot point and then introduce our expert in this panel. As everybody knows, in recent years, space has become strategic. And when we say strategic, it means that it's become a critical infrastructure. So it's a particular vulnerable. And space cybersecurity, yesterday there was the DG of ESA and some other experts, they start to say that we need to embed it or integrate cybersecurity from the very beginning in each space project and mission, starting from the design phase through testing and qualification. So we are not surprised if markets last April reported that the space cybersecurity market is projected to reach around 7 billion euro by 2029. That is from 4.5 billion euro in 2024. So at compound annual growth rate of 9%. So cybersecurity play a critical role in securing modern dual-use technology and defense missions. And today, military and civil systems are deeply interconnected. Ministry and the Department of Defense worldwide are actively exploring how leverage emerging sectors like new space to meet operational needs more flexible and affordable. So the panel of experts today will bring their knowledge and explore more deeply this topic. Let me invite on the stage Tülay Brambilla, Technology Program Manager, Future System at MBDA in Munich. Fabien Peer, CEO at UA Space from Toulouse. Alastair Pidgeon, Principal Solution Architect, Starion Group from UK. And Adelsbach, Vice President, Group International and Cybersecurity at CAS. So we agree that probably is a different format from the previous panel, that each panelist, each expert can jump in or stay on the chair and provide some background about themselves and also some key inputs that could be useful for the discussion later on. So that is your, if you are able, you can say that, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Hey, perfect. Good afternoon also from my side. Thank you for the quick introduction, Nicola. I do work as a technology program manager at MBDA Germany, based in Schrobenhausen, not Munich. But thank you. Exactly, and today I'm excited to be a part of this panel where we will discuss a very important topic, which is not just technical, but also strategic at the core. Cybersecurity in dual use and defense missions. I mean, nowadays, dual use and defense industry, they are connecting. They have started to connect. And we see also programs, projects, alignments between dual-use sector and defense industry. Dual-use, I mean, we heard these definition very often at this conference, basically, which means connecting civilian and military technology in this frame for military uses. And here in this frame, cybersecurity is, I mean, it's very important. It enables this connection. I mean, if we neglect or ignore cybersecurity in that direction, that means it's a clear mission failure point for the cooperation, for dual-use industry and the defense industry. So I'm looking forward to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Tülay. Fabien?
Hello everyone, thank you for this roundtable. And so my name is Fabien Appert. I'm the CEO and co-founder of USpace. USpace is a company specialized in manufacturing small satellites for constellation in low Earth orbit. So we propose to our customers satellite with mass under 200 kgs, and we address different kind of applications depending on the customer. So it could be Earth observation, for example, it could be navigation, it could be space surveillance awareness from space. So very, very different types of application depending on the customer, depending on the payload we need to integrate into onto the bus. Before that, myself, I was working at CNES on a student CubeSat project called CYSAT. It was done for an astronomy mission. It was a 3U CubeSat, and then USpace is a spin-off from this project. It was created in 2018, and now we are 80 people in the company, based in Toulouse. We have built and launched 4 satellites so far in space, working well, and we have 7 satellites in the making. In our factory in Toulouse, we also have built a factory of 1,000 square meters of clean rooms to ramp up our production and to be able to reach a first milestone of 1 satellite per week as a production capacity. So of course we have cybersecurity subjects because we work with both commercial customers, but also civil and military customers. We have contracts with CNES, for example, and with the Ministry of Defense, working on missions that do spectrum monitoring, missions that do demonstration of defense action in space, so very sensitive applications. And in addition to the core business of manufacturing small sats, we also have a service that we propose to our customer, and the service is a operation support service. So USpace has its control center software, and so we are able to operate satellites for our customers so that the customers can really focus on just processing the payload data. So we also have issues in terms of cybersecurity in operations. And so the topics we are facing are how do we move from the first world we knew, the student world, to a world now where we are dealing with very sensitive subjects with MODs. So thank you very much, and happy to give more information during this event.
Thank you, Fabien. Alastair.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Alastair Pidgeon. I'm a principal solution architect for Starion. I'm here these 2 days because I'm also with our sister company, Nexova, who you may have seen presentations. So they're the cybersecurity experts. I am not a cybersecurity expert. I've worked in satellite ground segment activities for about the last 30 years. So that's really my background, but I've also worked on the space segment, and a lot of what we're doing is, of course, software, and of course, software and cyber are intricately linked. So from a Starion point of view, one of the things we do is we have a mission control product solution called Astral. It's kind of component-based, so the client can mix and match with other tools and products that they want to use, that their favorite thing, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. So we're not providing a complete turnkey solution, a complete turnkey satellite solution, so we have to fit in with the environment and the security environment of our client, and we work with organizations like ESA, but also commercial customers and new space customers, and also we have a project with the UK MOD, which I can't say too much about. So yeah, I'm happy to join the panel, and I think this is a very interesting discussion.
Thank you, Alastair. Andre?
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, so my name is Adelsbach. I'm currently the CISO of SES, a Luxembourg headquartered satellite operator and provider of satellite-based media and communication services. I started in security more than 25 years ago, doing my master's and PhD in cryptographic protocols. And my first touch point really with satellite security was back in 2004 when we did some sniffing of satellite signals to find out that the satellite-based internet service at the time was not encrypted. And we did some publications around that, and that's what catched my interest in the satellite sector. And then when I think James Pavour 5 years ago did similar research, and he found the same results. So I think that tells something about the sector, and that we have to put more focus on cybersecurity. But that's just a parenthesis. So then after my PhD, I moved on to a security consultancy in the banking industry in Luxembourg, but also we had a lot of consultancy projects for the European Space Agency, where I had additional touch points, and I learned about how security is done at ESA, and security requirements in the institution. So we did some penetration tests for ESA, source code reviews of the ground control systems, but also risk assessments and consultancy for cryptographic protocols. We did a very broad assessment of different crypto algorithms and also modes of operations, and we gave recommendations which were then finally introduced also in CCSDS as a standard. And then in 2010, I joined SES first as IT security. At the time, the scope of responsibility was really more the office automation systems and networks, but also already at the time our ground control network. And then over time, I was fortunate enough to have the senior management support to grow and transform the function in a comprehensive and integrated information and cybersecurity function, which is really now responsible for all aspects beyond classical IT, also including the satellite operations and the service platforms of SES. So we are organized in three pillars. So we have the governance, risk and compliance pillar. That's the team responsible for establishing security policies, managing our information security management system, is in charge of maintaining our ISO 27001 security certification. And that team is also directly in contact with the BID teams that receive and work on customer requirements, and that's also where we have seen a tremendous shift over the last years, where initially, governmental and institutional customers always had their security requirements, even 10, 15 years ago. But we see this also since 2018, 2019, also more from the commercial customers that we have. So from that perspective, the gap between governmental security requirements that we see and the standard customer security requirements gets definitely smaller. And I think this morning we have seen in a talk, Jacques mentioned that maybe 85% of the security requirements are the same between civil or commercial customers versus governmental and military customers. But from my experience, these 15% may easily imply a multiple of effort and complexity in meeting these 15% of requirements, specifically when we are talking about classified information. So that's my touch point to the topic.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you. I'm start to read again the title for this panel, The Role of Cybersecurity in Modern Dual Use and Defense Missions. And I prepare some question for you all. But before to jump in on the question that is more technical stuff, so I would like to share with you this concept of modern. What does mean? What is your interpretation of modern dual use and defense mission? When we talk about new space or the activity of small satellites, constellation with a small number of satellites, what is your interpretation? Which way this modern or new space is jumping in your activity, but in general in this dual use and defense mission? I can start with Tülay.
Thank you. Very good question. Dual use, I mean, let's say dual use for defense. That means we do have commercial players, companies, and they try or they start to use or to offer their products for military missions. So we are starting to define the definition of dual use. But here, we do need a clear security pillar. I mean, if a commercial company wants now to offer products for military use, which is very common in the last years, which is also very good, and it's a great opportunity, and it's a great market also to test, also to be in the defense industry, to see it. I mean, I'm sure they also learn the frames, how the things are working in the defense industry with the MODs, with DODs, and use this experience also for the commercial part, which is also very important. For me, dual use also in my daily business life is, I mean, I check the technologies which are there, also the technology transfer topics, and try to adapt to our missions. If are there intersections, can we use this technology for the defense? Because we don't need to rethink the technologies from the initial point. I mean, if there's a process, if there's a technology, we need to think about adapting these to the defense industry, if possible, of course. In cooperation with MODs, DODs, it's a great opportunity. But if we do have these security pillar, which is very important. We cannot just say, okay, commercial products, let's go to the defense industry and find their the use case. It's not working like that. It's different, it's possible, and it's amazing, but if we keep these security pillar.
Thank you. Fabien, I like this technology transfer. It's quite important, because when you talk about new space, I also associate with university and apply research and start to reduce the scale of satellites. Fabien, your interpretation with these modern dual use and defense missions?
Yeah, first I would say modern can refer to a lot of new actors concerning dual use and defense missions. A lot of new startups that develop their products, and they want to propose them both to military application and civil applications. For example, it's quite recent with the French Space Command. They are scouting, they are looking for technologies in the civil world, and looking at how we can use those technologies without changing them for military applications. Also, when we discussed with the French MOD, in the past, they had their big program very specified with a roadmap of what they wanted to develop as a national capacities, national satellites owned by the government. But now they also want to combine those assets with other assets that belong to the commercial sector, and they want to have like hybrid assets, one that are really owned by the government and operated by the government like before, but also other assets that belongs to the industry and that can use the military sectors and other sectors. And I started to say first modern refers to actors. I'm looking for my second. My second, I think, was the new systems and new technologies that are coming. New systems, for example, with constellations. There are more and more constellations projects, and now the defense sector is looking at how to use those constellations. Clearly in the US, they decided to go for the use of constellations of small sats with all the projects SDA is doing. In France, we're still looking at what we do. So new systems, new approach with those constellations in LEO, and also new technologies that are coming on the market. There are a lot of new technologies, but for example, AI, how can we use AI in dual use or defense missions?
I like this scouting, and it means that the single components or maybe the payloads are standard, are civil, but there is a sort of process of integration that is start to become more oriented or more dedicated to the defense. Alastair, what do you think about this modern new space?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth saying that dual use isn't new. It's been used for many years, and telecoms operators have provided services to the military for many, many years. So from that point of view, and I think there are two types of dual use. One is you have a system, say, like IRIS², which will be developed purely for dual use right from the start. And there may be others where you've got a startup who's created their new constellation based on COTS technology, and then there's interest from the military to use that technology. And there are two quite different approaches. So clearly the modern is introducing constellations, as was mentioned, and new technologies, and doing things from also a faster point of view, because that's one of the key things, is bringing in these things faster rather than the program which will take 10, 20 years or whatever to provide. But of course then you get a clash of cultures, if you like, between the startup culture and maybe the military culture, and it's just trying to find a way of accommodation that meets the military's needs and security needs, as well as providing them with the data and services that they need.
Thank you, Alastair. Andre, your interpretation of modern dual.
Yeah, I mean, that can mean a lot of different things, right? Or even dual use, it can also mean things like hosted payloads, for example, on spacecrafts, right? Which exists already since quite a while. But I think when I look back at how SES transformed from the more video business to a communication service provider, that also meant transforming the infrastructure, supporting it, and also establishing interfaces for different type of customers to take more control over the services. So that in itself was already a transformation, specifically from a security point of view, away from the parameter-based security methodology. So our satellite operations and payload control used to be isolated, right? And now that we have to give, for more modern use cases, we need to give customers self-service control, steering capabilities over parts of the payload. That is what I would say, while SES is maybe perceived as old space, we have been transforming significantly to be able to offer also more modern communication services and to make full use of our payloads.
Yes, so far away from old space, that is a sort of mission or project one-off. Now we try to, in some way, there is a scale economy here. So to consider some, if you want, on-shelf payload or board or and maybe create add value, like, for example, artificial intelligence or some other. So let me start to, Tülay, with you. No, I have a technical question that this morning. So how do you evaluate whether a commercial new space partner is truly ready to support operational defense missions, especially under cyber threat conditions?
Thank you. I mean, there are criteria. I'm sure that each company, each institution, or even each project has its criteria. But let's start with a high level and define criteria which can be applied to each company or each prime, defense prime. The first one would be security capability. I mean, we can ask them to show that they can support very basic and end-to-end encryption. I mean, we can ask for demonstration. These are very simple criteria, which is essential from my perspective. The second one could be resilience, operational resilience. Can they prove, can they show that they can continue to operate under cyber stress? This is very important. Here we do need a clear confidence. I mean, they need to show that they can scale and adapt under increasing operational tempo. This is very important. And last one could be integration maturity. Can their system, technology, process be integrated in the mission system, in the mission environment, or mission simulation at the beginning? And to close the circle, I mean, it's not about checking the boxes. I mean, it's about trust. Trust is here very important. We need to trust, and they need to show that they can protect and sustain the mission when it's most vulnerable, most critical. It's very important to select or to check the partner if they are, good enough for the project, good enough for the defense frame. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I like these criteria: operational release, integration maturity, and trust. You know,
yeah, it's important. It's really important. I mean, it's not, as I said, we don't. I mean, of course, we do have documents which we are going through, but it's not only checking the boxes. I mean, you need to show, you need to demonstrate at the first level. Here, maybe you can also confirm. As a company, I mean, you need to show the primes to MODs, DODs, that, I mean, not only a presentation, a pitch, okay, we can do it, good, but how? To demonstrate something is very important, and if you demonstrate it, you are automatically part of it. Yeah.
Right. Fabien, just to, follow what Tülay said is, in the context of new space capabilities, what would be a good trade-off in terms of security?
Very hard to find to begin with, and very hard to, I think, have a low-cost version of a cybersecurity system. And I think the way to think it is not about to do everything not to be hacked, but of course to do things not to be hacked, but above all, how to react quickly when you've been hacked and when you've been attacked, how you can recover, how you can isolate parts of your system so you don't have any contamination to other parts. So what we do is, first, of course, implementing encryption, authentication on the ground-to-space link. So we work with CYSAT for this part, implementing libraries of encryption on board and in the mission control software. Isolation of mission control software as well, as we have several satellites to operate at the same time. Make sure that if we got attacked on one mission control software, not to have any side effects on other satellites. These isolations comes also with the payload and the bus. So at USpace, we design and we manufacture the bus, and the payload, we integrate the payload that is provided by a third party. And to for most of the time, the sensitive part is in the payload data, and a way to have a security in your system is to isolate the bus part and the payload part. For example, we have a mission with a governmental customer, and all the payload data is not seen by USpace. The payload data is directly downloaded to a ground station that belongs to the customer, and we don't see anything, and there is no way on board the satellites to get access to payload data through the platform. So this is one way we can use if we really want to work on missions that requires a very high security level. And then there is this new approach with with constellations. Thanks to the numbers of satellites, you get a resilience in the system. If you lose some satellites that were attacked and you have denial of service on some of the satellites, you still have a service provided by the whole constellation. Of course, it won't be the same SLA that you will have, but still you have something. And this is really something the MOD, French MOD is looking at, because having a big satellite that is a big target in space, if the satellite is attacked, you don't have anything. That was the case, for example, with the Lucho satellites. And so that's one good advantage of the constellations, having resilience by numbers of satellites in space.
It is exactly the concept of new space. You know, when we talk about, have a constellation with more satellites that with a lot of redundancy, so it's not depend on that particular communication. It's not depend from just one. And again, Fabien, you come with this integrated payload, and like Tülay, integration maturity. So we talk about architecture here, and Alastair, how do you fit into hybrid, architecture involving legacy client systems?
To me, yeah.
Yeah, sure, but
yeah, I mean, as I said, we're not providing a complete turnkey solution. We're providing our ground control solutions into an existing system. We're controlled. We're in their network environment. Often we're using their cloud, their private cloud or infrastructure. So, and we also have to talk to their legacy systems or other systems provided by other vendors. And so we don't have control over the whole security envelope, all the boundaries. And so we could come along with very fancy technologies like zero trust architectures, but the others just can't fit in with that. So what we have to do is fit in with the way they work. And of course, that depends on every client, whether it's we've had this experience with new space companies, also with the MOD and even with ESA. So, you know, that's a major challenge. And the other thing, of course, is everybody does it in a different way. And it's not just about requirements. And I completely agree with what you say, is the last 15% may be the biggest problem, but it's also about just the processes. And even if you've qualified your system with one client, the other client doesn't trust that, and you've got to start from go through the whole thing again. So that's a challenge. So that's how we do it. We have to be adaptable. We have to be flexible. We have to accommodate what the client wants. We can't come and say our system's wonderful, it's a black box, and it all works beautifully. We have to demonstrate that.
Yeah. I think we can have some question related to the zero trust, because in particular, if you have this integration of more single system, and then you can involve the supply chains, you involve many companies involved, the zero trust, I think, is something that is quite important. Fabien, I understand that you want to say something.
Yeah, the reaction I wanted to have is when we talk about hybrid system, it's also hybrid actors, and so we have stories. U-Space is working with the MBDA on the Tutatis program, and so we have these two cultures of a big player working with the small actors, and we have also same stories with the Airbus DS, for example. And what I saw is when there is the willingness for the two parts really to work together and to be complementary and to use the added value of the two players, it really works. Sometimes when you don't have this willingness to really cooperate, it doesn't work, but when there's this willingness, it works, and it's very nice. Of course, there are tension between the two actors because a culture that is really different, but in the end, I think it leads to a new thing that has added value.
We choose experience, yeah.
You want to add something, Tülay? No, right. So, Andre, how do you, in this context, because I think everything is connected, in particular when we have an interaction with the MOD or DOD about the new space. So how do you support your organization in adapting to facilitate MOD, DOD use of new space assets?
Yeah, so the primary purpose of the security organization is obviously to protect the organization from cyber threats and risks. But there's also a second objective, and which is to enable the business, right? To serve the customers and to meet the customer requirements. And specifically, when we talk about dual-use defense missions or institutional governmental customers, then yeah, we are talking about really advanced security requirements, and that's where we also transformed our security strategy to be more forward-looking. So not to wait for the next big, let's say, RFP to come, and then we get a surprise. Oh, there are these security requirements in there, and now we have to see how we can retrofit them. So we try to be more forward-looking, so we really consolidate the different requirements that we receive. We look at the threat landscape. We try to anticipate what the new security requirements could be, also from a regulatory perspective, and we work to adapt and integrate these requirements into our security framework, so that also. Yeah, we do not take every security or customer security requirement as a one-off, but that we kind of can meet all the different customer security requirements leveraging our consolidated framework. And for this purpose, we also go and leverage the most prescriptive and advanced security framework, which for us is NIST SP 800-53. So we use this internally as a prescriptive security framework to stay ahead of the requirements, let's say. And yeah, then the other thing is really making sure that we work closely with our internal engineering and operations teams so that we are complying with these requirements, and that that teams can comply with these requirements, which is a challenge because often there are, or most of the times, there are also dependencies. And I think you mentioned it, that some components just don't support modern security concept, and the only way to protect them is to build high walls around them. The problem is with the new way of service provisioning and the interfaces that are required for that, you cannot hide them anymore or protect them with high walls. So an important aspect of supporting the business to become compliant and to protect the services going forward is really to work with the supply chain and to make sure that certain fundamental security capabilities are being integrated, at least in future versions of the different components that make up your ground segment or your space segment. And that's really, it's not an easy thing to, and that's where I hope that regulations like NIS2 will make sure that these security requirements are flown down consistently, right, by all the different regulated companies, and that the supply chain will hear the same requirements from more customers, which then finally, hopefully, will make a valid business case for them to integrate these features. And then we can start talking about zero trust concepts and and having better protections throughout the whole ground and space segment as well.
So Andre, your zero trust strategy and roadmap, because of course now it starts to become a key point here. If you talk about integration, hybrid architecture, what's about your roadmap, a strategy on zero trust in your company, your organization, in your project missions?
Yeah, when we looked at our security strategy, and we were revising it, obviously we also looked at zero trust, and we decided that zero trust would be the foundational concept for our design efforts to secure our infrastructure and services. So we have been looking at different frameworks, and we finally then ended up with the CYSAT zero trust maturity model, which is quite nice. So it defines different pillars of zero trust and cross pillar security functions, and it gives you a maturity framework, so you can do a self-assessment, rate your maturity according to across the different pillars, and then you can derive from that a roadmap to work towards higher levels of maturity for zero trust. Obviously, we did not do that across the board for the whole infrastructure of SES, but we decided to look at different environments separately. So we did it obviously for our office automation and our cloud infrastructure, but we also did it for the customer service infrastructure and the satellite control, but separately because there are just different feature sets available and different maturity levels, and where some features or a lot of features are nowadays available in the different cloud services, the commodity cloud services, let's say, it's easy to achieve a higher maturity level, whereas on the more, the closer it gets to satellite control and satellite-based service infrastructure, the more constrained you are by the security features that these components are supporting. And that's where we try to engage with the main suppliers we have, and we enter into a discussion, what would it take to implement certain security features. And I mean, sometimes it works better, sometimes you get even already stuck on basic things like forwarding security logs into your central monitoring tool. And so it's an ongoing effort, yeah. But as I said, I really hope that NIS2 will provide some more dynamic there. That yeah, the missing capabilities are implemented more swiftly.
That is quite interesting. Alastair, you know, we talk about different frame, different environment, different system. So how you accommodate different client security? And in particular, for what they concern requirements and standard. Because clients means supply chain. Everyone is provide you some pieces of, in some way, box. So you have to integrate. In which way you are, you can accommodate different client security requirements and standards?
Well, as I said before, it's quite different for each one, and we have to, during the bid phase, understand exactly what they want, what those constraints are, and then understand how we're going to demonstrate those constraints that have their requirements. Sometimes during the project, there's a lot of negotiation and discussion about how we can do that and how we can reach the levels they need. Different customers have different risk appetites as well, and even on, you think, quite innocuous systems, some customers have extremely low risk appetites, and you can get, they can impose quite severe certification or accreditation things, which you might consider unnecessary, but they're the customer, so you have to fit in. You have to fit in with that, and obviously there's a debate to be had, but in the end, the customer's always right. So yeah, that's what you have to try to do.
Yep. Fabien, just on the same note, you know, I don't want to, because I think that this is the clue of this topic. You know, how are your commercial vendors adapting their product and service to address the security needs of MOD or DoD?
Well, the experience I have is more about trying to find a trade-off with discussions with the MOD, a trade-off between the MOD and the commercial vendors. It's not about completely adapting the commercial solutions to the MOD. It's more about trade-offs. A fun story, for example, when we started a program with CNES, and they discovered that we were using completely Google Workspace for for managing our files. We had discussions with them to see how we can handle sensitive data on the program, and so the solution was really pragmatic, or the sensitive data was hosted at in CNES servers, and we got an access for use space to work on this data. So it's really about discussion with them, and I think we the good way for MOD is to support the commercial vendors to bring more added value to the market thanks to a better cybersecurity system, because on the commercial markets there are more and more requirements, and it was said before, on the security level. And if we can propose a solution with a good cybersecurity system, it will be an added value, a differentiator from the competitors. And in that way, MODs, I really think they can help us with that, and that's what we are doing with them. We are working with DGA, with CNES, to look at the reference framework that exists, and try to comply with the requirements, and to see which requirements we need to comply with, and others that are not really useful for us. So it's really about that, and we need to the wrong way would be MOD slowing down the business because they really want to impose the requirements on the commercial without listening to the challenges we have and how it could really slow down our commercial development. So it could be a good way supporting the industry to have added value, but there is another side that could be really painful for the commercial industry.
That is quite interesting. You know, they try to slow down the, the production. So, Tülay, you know, this relationship with MOD and DOD, what they expect in return in terms of level of security from a company, but in particular from a big multinational European company or group that you represent. Obviously, it cannot match the old space model of dedicated production lines with security clearance, etc., already done.
Exactly. I mean, we are no longer operating in the old space model, which state-owned infrastructure and long cycle certifications and so on. I mean, but this does not mean that the security is compromised, cybersecurity is compromised. It means it's evolving, which is good, very good, because, I mean, we feel also the dynamic behind these. What MODs, DODs today expect from the industries, from the integrators. I mean, basic one, standards aligned secure architectures, which is, I mean, essential one. I mean, of course, mission-based security. There are different missions. Every mission has its own frame, and so it should be also mission-based. Maybe these 15% of the requirements, which I mean, which are in this frame. It should be, I mean, there should be segmented and protected data management, which is important, and maybe very basic, but very important, which you also mentioned. We do need dedicated defense mission. I mean, dedicated defense mission business units in the company, which means where, I mean, people are educated, are, I mean, trained, trust, and very often also cleared to handle, I mean, important mission-related data systems. I mean, this is also essential to, I mean, to provide quick, maybe, or good cooperation with each other. Yes.
I think that there is no question at the moment, but I'm trying to invite everybody to ask some question to the expert here. I have one more question that for everybody. So, of course, when you talk about, you know, dual use and defense missions, it means that all the systems that we are able to integrate are quite mature in terms of technology. In which way we can bring innovation in this new era or this new system? I'm start from you, Tülay, and then the question is for everybody. And that is important also, our relationship with university or with the research center.
Exactly, with research transfer. Transfer centers or demonstrators.
Sure.
I mean, it should be, you don't need actually, I mean, of course, it's very important to have a research institute in the initial project, but you can also start with the customer demo phase, where you can show that you can, I mean, you can do what you are also pitching. But if you include also research centers, also the universities, because the MODs also are connected with their research institutions, it's very, very important. And this kind of collaboration also accelerates the innovation. Yeah, I would say to close the circle, bringing together the startups, the research institutions, the companies, the commercial companies, the defense industry, and the customer, MODs, DODs. It is the solution, I would say.
In your relationship with the MOD or DOD, they are more, we can say, they are comfortable if you know, inside of your activity, you can bring something completely innovative?
Yeah, very, very good question. It depends on the program, on the project, and on their risk appetite. But nowadays, it's a bit different. They are also very, they also welcome such cooperations because the situation is a bit different than, because we need to be quick. We need very fast products. There is pressure. So what I see from my experience, it's welcome to also include research centers, also the startups. But I do underline, it depends on the project and the program, yes.
Fabien.
Yes, I think what the Defense Innovation Agency, AID in French, is doing is really great. They find a way to integrate innovation into a possible future defense program. The thing is to know quite early in the innovation program what would be the very sensitive data so that you can from the beginning isolate this data and have an organization with startups, with big groups, with research centers that can comply with this constraint. We started a project on Tutatis. At the beginning, nothing was sensitive, no secret stuff or anything. And on the way, some things started to become very sensitive. And when you need to change late in the process, you need to change on the fly your organization to deal with these kind of things. It becomes very complicated, and it slows down the innovation process. And also, it's very hard to capture the costs of bringing this new cybersecurity stuff in the program, which is on the fly, and then who will pay for that and everything. So I think it's very important to have, from the start, from the beginning of the design, to really know, okay, I'm doing an innovation with new technologies, but these data, I tell you that this is sensitive, and I want you to have a specific system for that, and for all the rest, you can do as you want.
But thank you. You're right. Costs, yeah, it's important, but I know, there is no program where is no cybersecurity pillar. Of course, it's at the beginning a bit hard to implement it, but I don't know, each program, defense program, has a cybersecurity pillar, which shows also the importance of cybersecurity in the missions. But I completely do agree with classified, unclassified, how to manage. It takes sometimes ages, but this is a part of it.
So
hopefully it's evolving. Yeah.
Innovation has a big cost.
Yeah, it has a cost. The main point is it's not really about the costs. It's to know that there will be a cost, and so if you know it from the beginning, you know there will be a cybersecurity pillar, so you can have a budget for that and you can start the program. But if you have not anticipated that, then it's complicated, and then who pays the new cost for that?
Alastair.
Yeah, there's an English term which is called moving the goalposts, which means that you start off thinking it's going to be completely unclassified or at a low security level, and before you know it, that changes. And I completely agree with that that challenge. I mean, we do a lot of innovation work with the European Space Agency. For example, we're working with the European Space Operations Centre, applying AI to support operations activities. And that tends to be a collaboration between a number of companies, and that we want to then spin that into the sort of dual use and defence world as well. But the work we've been doing in the UK MOD is actually being funded by the DSTL, which is the innovation arm, and they're also trying to learn themselves, because new technology means new operations concepts, means different ways of working. Previously, they procured satellite by satellite, and they're now interested in having a multi-mission solution. And again, that's just changing their internal culture as well.
So it's up to you to demonstrate to your MOD or DOD that the project or the results that you come from the mission with the European Space Agency is another project, is working well in that particular
Yes, and obviously we have to still look at the whole cyber side of it as well, but there's a cultural change there as well.
Andre?
Yeah, we have a very active business development team focusing specifically on defense and government. And yeah, there are cooperations with universities. We have projects with the European Space Agency where we innovate. And internally, we also have an offensive now, let's say, or an initiative to really also submit and file patent applications, which is something that we didn't have in the past, but it's becoming, intellectual property obviously is becoming more and more important. So that's how we tackle it.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Alastair, Fabien, Tülay. I think that we are 1 minute over. I think you can tolerate us. And please join me for a round of applause for this magic panel of experts. Thank you.